If you're in a startup, you know the feeling, that nagging question that keeps you up at night. Are we actually building something people want? It's the question, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into a playbook that's all about answering that question, not just once, but over and over again.
And this quote from Teresa Torres, man, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the reality for so many teams. Decisions get made based on opinions, on who's the highest paid person in the room, not on actual customer insight. For a startup, that's not just a bad habit, it can literally be a death sentence.
You know, there's a name for this whole mess. It's called the build trap, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you get so obsessed with just shipping features, with checking boxes, that you forget to ask the most important question. Is any of this actually creating value? You celebrate the launch, but you never check if it moved the needle on what really matters.
So how do we get out of this trap? Well, it all starts with a huge mindset shift, a really fundamental one. You have to stop measuring your success by what you build and start measuring it by the impact you create. It's all about shifting from outputs to outcomes.
This right here is so important to understand. Outputs, on the left, that's the stuff you build. The features, the completed projects, they're super easy to count, right? But they don't mean you've succeeded. Outcomes, on the other hand, that's the good stuff. That's the real, measurable change in your customers' behavior. Are they more engaged? Are they sticking around longer? Are more of them upgrading? So you've got to stop asking, what should we build? And start asking, what customer behavior do we want to change? Okay, so focusing on an outcome is step one. Awesome. But then the next question is always, okay, how do we actually get there? To make sure you don't just fall back into guessing, there's this really simple but incredibly powerful visual tool called the Opportunity Solution Tree.
Basically, think of the opportunity solution tree as your roadmap. It gives your startup a structured way to think. Instead of just jumping from a goal straight to an idea for a feature, it forces you to slow down and really explore the problem first, to live in your customer's world for a bit.
And it all starts at the very top with your North Star, a specific, measurable business result you're trying to achieve. For a startup, that could be something like, hey, we need to increase our customer retention from 70% to 80% this quarter. Crystal clear. Now, right below that outcome, you start mapping out the problem space. And this is where the real magic happens. You don't guess, you go out and you talk to your customers to find out their needs, their pain points, their desires. These are your opportunities. They're the problems that, if you solve them, will push you toward that business outcome. And only after you've really dug into those opportunities do you even start thinking about solutions. And look at that word, multiple. You don't just come up with one idea, you brainstorm several ways you could solve a single customer problem. This is a game changer because it keeps you from falling in love with your very first idea. Look, a framework on a slide is one thing, but it's pretty useless if you don't act on it. So how do you make this a real living part of how your startup works? The key is to turn it into a simple, repeatable habit, a weekly loop. This three-step loop is the engine that drives the whole thing. And it's not a big one-off project, it's a weekly rhythm. You're talking to customers every single week. You're constantly updating your map based on what you learn. This is how you make sure every decision you make is grounded in reality, not just wishful thinking. Now that third step, testing, this is where startups can get a huge edge. We're not talking about building out a whole feature just to see if people like it. That's slow, it's expensive, no. We're talking about testing the tiny, risky assumptions your idea is built on. So instead of asking, should we build this whole thing, you ask a much smarter question. What is the single biggest belief that, if we're wrong about it, would make this entire idea fail? Then you design a tiny, fast experiment to test just that one thing.
I know, this might sound like a lot to take on, but you can start today, right now, with one simple, super powerful action. You don't have to change everything overnight. You just need to build the right team for the job.
See, this whole continuous discovery thing, it's a team sport. It's not a solo mission. It needs what's called a product trio, a product manager, a designer, and a software engineer, all working together. Now, in an early stage startup, that trio might just be your entire founding team. The point is that these three perspectives, the business, the user experience, and the technology, are in the room together making these decisions week in and week out. So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a question to take back to your team. Seriously, what is the single, biggest, unproven belief that your entire company is betting on right now? Is it that people will pay for your product? Is it that you can find customers for a certain price? Find that assumption, write it down, and then ask yourselves,
What's the smallest, fastest, cheapest way we can find out if we're actually right?